Hello, everybody. Um, I think it's 3 p.m. Nigeria time, so we can get started already. My name is Olusegun, and of course, co-hosting with me uh, this live stream training session is Razvan. So, of course, you'll be coming on now, and of course, some of us already know Razvan, but if you don't, Razvan is our global head of education, and of course, the Chief Strategy Manager in Rally Trade. So let me just invite him on now to come around and introduce himself as well and get started already. Razvan?
Hello, everyone. Nice having you here.
Thank you. Welcome.
Is everything okay? Can you guys hear me well? All good?
Yes. So if you can hear Razvan, if you can hear me, just indicate, say yes, or maybe you kind of like drop a comment. And of course, we get started already. Thank you.
Okay, guys, welcome to this event. I hope everyone can hear me well, can hear whatever I say, and the audio is good. I will soon share my screen.
Yeah, the audio is good.
Audio is good. I
So,
shared my screen. Everything is okay with the video?
yeah, everything is okay now. I can see your screen.
Cool. In the chat, can you please answer if you all can see my chat, my screen and the audio?
Yeah. So let's hear from you guys.
Great.
You can hear the screen. Okay, so I see a lot of yes. Yeah.
Great. Glad to hear that. This is perfect. Now, one more thing. I will start this event by welcoming you, and actually, I'm really happy to be here. It's been a while since I've been on an online event. Also, if you have questions, please write them down in the chat and I'll try to answer as many as possible. In the meantime, I will start the presentation. I will stop and answer your question if it's related to whatever I'm speaking about, or I will leave it towards the end to answer the questions that I have here. Okay, hope everything is okay. So today we have a very interesting subject and something that I really enjoy using while trading and doing my technical analysis, uh, either just technical analysis or in combo with fundamental analysis, but it is something that I never miss on my chart. And these are trend lines. I will start with some basic stuff about trends, which from my point of view is very important to know before drawing a trend line or using one to trade. And this is basically related to the definition of a trend. What is a trend? We know that a trend can be a downside or an upside trend. We also have sideways trends. But how can we be sure that the trend is a downside or an upside trend, for example? Well, I usually do something before drawing a trend line. I check the highs and the lows. The highs and lows are very important when it comes to defining a trend. Why is that? Because if we want to see if a trend is down or if a trend is up, we first need to look at the highs and the lows. If we have, like in this example, we have lower highs. This is the first high here. Whatever I have on the screen, it doesn't matter the time frame. For example, right now we are on a 4 hours time frame, but we can change it to daily, weekly. The view, of course, will change. The trend will change, but the way of defining a trend is the same. We first look at the highs. If the highs are lower than the previous highs, and this is very important, both highs and lows should be lower than the previous ones. We could have, and I'll give you some examples a bit later when we will switch to GBP USD, when we can have lower highs, but it will not be a downtrend. You will see why. So first of all, what is very, very important is for us to check whether the highs are lower than the previous ones and the lows to be also lower than the previous ones. These are very, very important before even drawing a trend line. Why is that? Because if we will draw an uptrend line, for example, and I've seen many, many cases. In this case, we will draw a trend line on, let me just clear this up. We will draw a trend line like this. This is very beautiful. We have lower lows hitting the trend line here, but this doesn't mean that it is a trend line. And this is very important because while this is a downtrend, looking at the lower highs, this line here will not tell us anything about the direction of the trend or the slope of the trend, the angle of the market, the speed, and so on and so forth. This just happened to look very nice on the highs of, on the lows of this downtrend. Best way to do it would be for a downtrend to check first the highs. So we'll draw a line. As you can see here in MT5, I have draw trend line because we also have horizontal lines like these ones, but these are used for support and resistance levels or areas. So it seems that someone doesn't hear me very well. Is it the case for everyone, or is it just an isolated one? Great, thank you. Great. Again, so we have the horizontal lines are support and resistances. Basically, we have fixed levels, as you can see here on Euro USD 4-hour chart. We have 108.35. This is a previous support level, and now it's being a resistance level, and quite a heavy one. We can also say the same thing about 107.22 and so on. But these are just fixed support and resistance lines giving us some points where we can actually trade above or below based on our own strategy. While a trend line, it's something very different because we cannot say that by joining these 2 points from here, we'll have just one level. Continuing that trend line basically will give us possible points where the market could actually act as a resistance, which is very important because we will know by joining these first two here in this case, because you'll see there are different ways of drawing a trend line and adapting a trend line to the current situation. We can actually understand where the market might hit next or retest, as you will see further down the line. Right now, we have 3 points of contact. This one right here, this is very, very interesting. We have another point of contact, but it's not as perfect as the previous ones. And you will see this happen quite frequently. It doesn't mean if a trend line worked 3 times, actually 2 times, like in this case, the third time will work as good as before or be as precise as before. So a trader will have to adapt and understand that basically around the trend line should be something like a resistance area. For example, whenever I draw a trend line, I usually create some very small channels. I like to say channels, though they are not really trend channels, but some channels that I'm using as resistance areas. Because in these channels, I can then find different other interesting levels. For example, we have a resistance level here, 108.67, hit before several times as a resistance, turned to be a very good support, resistance, again resistance, resistance. And as you can see, the market traded around this level, but after that fell and had a very good rally towards 106.00 for euro dollar. So I have my trend line here. As I said, I'm using the first two, continuing, and this is the new point of contact. Continuing, the same happened here, but this time I also have a break above the trend line, and this is something that I need to consider while still aiming for short trades. As long as the trend line was broken, the perspective, the medium-term perspective for that trend, in our case H4 time frame, the medium-term perspective would be for it to start a new uptrend, at least until the first high of the trend was hit. It doesn't mean that the downtrend has finished, but right now the perspective is on the uptrend. And this is very interesting. What I wanted to show you guys is that in the current situation, looking at A4 and zooming in a bit more, let's try to draw a trend line right now on what kind of trend do you think this is? We have first low here, second, we have the third one here, fourth, and so on. Continuing on the same direction as for the downtrend, if we have higher lows and, this is very important, higher highs, as in this situation, then we can consider it as being a new uptrend. So let's start drawing. We take first the first two contact points. We have these two. Again, if we consider making a channel, then we will see that the channel works even better than the support area. Again, this is not a proper channel. Segun will discuss and show you how to create channels, how to understand them and trade them. But this is mostly, from my point of view, a support area that I usually draw just like parallel lines from my main trend line. So I have the trend line here, and as I can see, the trend started to make even faster higher highs and more apart. This is very important because in this case, we will have to redraw our trend line in this way. The slope right now, it's a bit steeper than before, which means that the uptrend has gathered some momentum, and we have to adapt to this new trend. This will be our main trend line, our main uptrend line, and this is very important, while these will be secondary lines, secondary, third line. You can have different kind of slopes like a fan. So for example, if the market will rally from here, you'll have another one like this. In this case, you'll have just like a fan. First point of contact, first support will be the last one. But the main one for the trend is the first drawn line, like in this case. Now, let's say we have this line here. This is our support trend line right now. So we are following it for the uptrend. What does this mean? It means that we can expect the price to drop, and we can check again for resistance areas, prior resistance areas, which is 107.83. And as you can see, this resistance area, support area, is very close to our trend line, thus giving us right here a very good support area, trend line support level, expecting it to either go back up for new higher highs, or this is a very interesting stuff. You need to check for false breakouts. The price could go a little bit lower, as I showed you. Let me just drop this. As I showed you here, basically what happened was that we had a false breakout, and after that the price got back in and went on the direction of the main trend. Same things could happen in our case. We can have a false breakout and we need to check for this. Basically, every time we are using trend lines or any kind of technical analysis, we need to expect for false signals. Is it based on trend line support resistance? We can have false signals. If it's based on indicators like, I don't know, RSI, MACD, or Bollinger Bands, or whatever, every strategy based on technical analysis will have false signals. Same things go for fundamental analysis. By combining a couple of them, several of them, will give us a higher probability to understand where the market will go in the next rally. So covering this up, again, we have trend line, we have a trend which is speeding. This means that we need to redraw our trend line and check for first point of contact around this area. Let me give you some other examples, and I would like to touch GBPSD because right now, as we are standing, we have lower highs, but in the same time, we have higher lows. So in this case, we cannot discuss about having an uptrend or a downtrend, because right now what we have here, it's a new, it seems to be a new pattern, price pattern, like a triangle. And in this case, we can say that the market is trading sideways and not uptrend or downtrend. Same thing happened if we check this part here. We had this level 124.57 and 118.35, where we had a side move. It doesn't look like a triangle, but it's actually a rectangle. This is a new pattern in actually it's not that new, but it's a new pattern for the market. For this uptrend, it's a new pattern. We have a sideways trend, and after that moved back in an uptrend, went lower, but we still have higher lows. So overall, if we look on a daily chart, overall, we are on an uptrend. We can see the downtrend very clear here, and we can see the higher lows and higher highs up until this point. Sideways move, this means a lateral trend, sideways trend, and we can expect for the uptrend to continue by breaking this first upside line of the triangle and continuing on the rally, and then we can actually decide whether our new trend line should be something like this. This would be an adjustable trend because we had a very steep one in the beginning, and this tends to happen quite frequently. We have a steep reversal, steep trend line. Let me just zoom in a little bit. And we can see now better. We had a steep trend line here, which then turned into a sideways move. Again, trend line, we can have another one here, but still sideways. These are very important to know when trading, because if we enter considering it's an uptrend, but it's a sideways move, then we can get some pretty nasty feelings, and the market can trick us very, very well. Another example as a trend line would be the USD JPY. Let me zoom out a bit. This is the main trend line, let's say, for this part of the chart. We can go further, but would not help us very much. We can start from here, but the price already moved a lot, so we need to adjust. Always adjust, always try to keep your analysis up to date, because if we still aiming for this line to be hit as we discuss it, then it might take a while for the price to reach it, and we can lose some entries in the market. So this is one of the lines, and right now what we should follow would be this one. As we can see, we have 2 points of contact. This would be the third point. We should see if the market will move sideways up until the trend line, and start again up, or look for a retest on this secondary line. So this would be everything for trend lines right now. I will give the mic to Shegun and let him discuss about the next subject. If you have questions, though, I'm interested in having them.
Thank you very much, Razvan. Let me permit maybe one question or two. Just raise up your hand if you'd like to ask a question around this topic Razvan just finished. If you raise up your hand, then I will. Okay, so I see one person, and of course, I'm going to enable him to speak to us, who is Izuchukwu. I hope you get that. So go ahead and talk to us.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Yes,
hello, hello.
Sir, I saw your your analysis you did on Trendline, but I entered late. The concept you are explaining, see how to draw trend lines, or how, because when I normally draw my trend, I don't know how to properly draw trend lines, and you are about to move to the next stage. I don't know if you can just briefly tell us how we can draw trend lines correctly in order for us to go, before you go further, sir, because I missed that part. I came 16 minutes after 3 before you started concluding.
Okay, great. This is a very valid question. There are several ways of drawing a trend line. My preferred way is to use the absolute minimums for a movement. For example, we have this trend here, right? We have uptrend moving up. I usually take the first lower low of that trend and the second one. In this case, we have it here. I tend to draw the lines through the minimum points, taking into considerations also the shadows. I don't usually do it like this, not considering the shadows. I usually take with the shadow. So I am drawing through the first 2 points using the lower lows of those shadows. And after that, I can actually juggle around and create my resistance area around that trend line. This is my way of doing it. Now, again, you will have cases, and here I'll take the time to answer another question coming in on the chat. When do you consider a trend line is still valid? For example, in this case, we had this first two, right? First lower low was here. Now look what happened. The price had a new lower low, and after that a new one, and basically this trend line was not useful at all. If we change it, and for example, I'll draw it like this, it will still not be so useful in the future. This means that I'll just ignore the first low. And usually happens like this in the steep trends. As you can see here, I tend to ignore this one and use the following two. And look how beautiful then it was respected. So on a basic level is use the lower lows, including the shadows of the candles, or depending on the chart you are using, and try to adapt. Basically here, this was a spike down, coming back really fast, and the market settled with a new trend using the second and the third higher lows.
Yes, thank you, Razvan. I think that would be all because of time, because I'm also looking at time. I want us to cover this And of course, the other 3 topics we have as quickly as we can. So all those other people that raise up their hand, apologies. Just pile up your questions. At the end of this, the whole session, we can just, if we still have a couple of minutes, we can take all the questions as much as we can. So Razvan, just let me share my own screen right now.
Sure, let me stop mine.
So I'm going to just go straight to this account, all right? So I'm going to change my template to the one all of us can understand. So let me just go straight to that same, say, Euro USD or GBP USD, all right? So I'm going to also change this template. Also, right now I'm on Euro USD. So basically, I'm going to be looking at trend channels right now. We have just finished discussing Trendline, but as an addition, just to guide us in the future, and especially to answer, to also lend a hand to the question. The last person answer, I think, is Uchuku, where he asked how to draw trend line. So I'm going to let me see if I can. This MT5 is kind of moving slowly, so let me see if I can switch to MT4. All right. Give me a second, couple of seconds. Let me just see if I can just share, new share, and go straight to MT4. So I'm going to go to a chart. Give me a second. Sure. So let me start with, say, anyone, Euro USD, or even GBP USD that I've just concluded on. So I'm going to pick a kind of like a template that we can work with and zoom in. So what you normally should do, everybody, is that's what I like doing anyway. It's my style of trading, is that I normally like to zoom out. Now, when you zoom out, it gives you a leverage, okay? It gives you an idea of what price has been doing. Then you can now begin to draw your trend line. Now, if you want to draw a trend line, there are some simple basic rules guiding it. First of all, if you click to draw, you can see mine is, unlike Razvan, so mine is just drawing a ray. Like the lines does not stop moving. It's just going like infinity. That's what we call ray. And of course, if you want to, if you're a professional up to Razvan level, you can do the one he's doing. But if you're a beginner, I would suggest kind of like advise that you use the ray, because the ray will give you an idea of what price has been doing, okay, even in the future. Because the reason why you are zooming out is to see perspective as to what the price has been doing over time. So that's the purpose of zooming out. So by the time you enable ray, and to do that, you must double click on your trend line to have like 2 or 3 dots that you can work with it. So you point to any of the dots that you see on the screen right now, and of course you right click. So when you right click, you go to properties of that trend line. This ray must be enabled. Now on Razvan's own, this ray is left enabled, order attended. So if you click OK now, this is going to be shortened. This is the one he's using, which is okay, all right, for professional traders. But if you're a beginner, like somebody that's just starting to trade, okay, so you need to enable that to ensure that your line on its own draw and of course go to the end. So this will give you an idea of what price has been doing. So for example, yesterday on this Euro USD that we just finished, I think this is GBP USD that we just finished discussing. Now you can see this simple trend line. Like Razvan said, trend line does change and it does expire. Okay, so this might be the beginning of that trend line. For example, for whoever will draw this one now, this will be like the beginning, right? Beginning, because it was touching some points. But as time goes on, it begins to shift. This begins to shift, even though the price respected it at some point. For example, if we come to arrow down, we can see all these points, and also see this point, which is valid. But of course, this was not valid. So these 2 points, even though eventually it became a double top, okay, so the idea is that you want to draw trend line to know where you can be selling on a downtrend and where you can be buying on an uptrend. That's the idea of trend line. And eventually, though, we also discover that when the price eventually gets to this location that I'm going to also put an arrow on, which is this part, okay, so there was a little bit of struggle, even before the price could retreat a little bit. But as you can see it now, the price eventually put in all the effort and eventually broke above that trend line. And of course, you should know that when the trend line is broken like so, for example, from here going up, and of course, you should expect a retest. And that's the one Razvan is going to discuss a retest at the later part of this conversation. That's the next topic. So you should, once you have a retest like that, you cannot say, okay, I think this is the end of that downpour. Now the price is shifting to the other part, which will now lead me to channel that I'm going to be discussing now. Okay, so I have this indicator here that I'm going to be sharing how to use it. This is an indicator that actually automatically draw channels for you. Now, I'm going to also ask now, because this is very, very, very interesting. If you know you will be interested, I'm going to explain how to use it. If you know you'll be interested in having this indicator and you don't have it, it's as simple as, adding, you must top up your account to up to 1 million minimum before I can pass this across to you. If you know you don't have it, right, and you like to get this channel, this, of course, give you a perspective of what the price has been doing, okay? Then you can, write to your manager, request for this particular indicator, and of course, I'm going to be giving it out for free. But minimum in your account that you must have. That means if you have like all this 200,000 in your account, I will not give you. Okay, but if you top up your account up to 1 million or thereabout, yes, of course, you can request for it, and of course, your request shall be granted. Now, how do you use this channel? The idea is that if you go to H4, for example, this is a self-driven indicator that, and of course, it doesn't repeat. Okay, it's a non-repeating indicator. It gives you a perspective of what price is doing on GBP USD, as we can see right now. So where you expect a downpour, for example, if you are buying now, which is okay, you are enjoying it. Okay, so where I expect you to close your trade will be this zone. Can you see it now? So if the price eventually, dribble and get to this level, you can expect to close your trade and say, okay, I think I'm done. The price has hit a maximum limit, which is the upper end of the channel. Normally, the channel is 2. Of course, if it paints like the pink you are seeing on the screen, it means that the price is down. And of course, you can see the channel is down, pointing down. Now, this is like I said, this is a self-driven indicator. You are not the one that will plot this. It is an indicator that just automatically, once you put it on your chart, it will plot this channel for you. Then you can visibly see what the price has been doing. Of course, you can also add trend lines to support your assertion to say, okay, maybe I want to buy here or sell there. So if you go, for example, to Euro USD right now, you can see the power of this indicator come into play. So if I come to Euro USD right now, 1 hour, it works on 1 hour, 4 hours daily, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, any time frame you want. This indicator will on its own self-adjust to fit that purpose, right? So this is the indicator once again on 1 hour chart of Euro USD. Of course, you can see now that you can see the way the indicator is repainting, and of course, give you an idea of what the price has been doing. So what right now, the price is at the upper channel of this Euro USD. And of course, what you expect from here is a sell, right? So, but before you place that sell, of course, like I said before, we're going to be looking at patterns around trendline and channels. So before you place that sell, you should critically look at candle formations. Okay, what are the candles saying? Because it's a critical part of you selling. All right. So for example, you must look for candles that support a sell. Say, for example, bearish engulfing candle. Say, for example, inverted hammer. Say, for example, gravestone doji, which is, of course, is seller too, right? So you can actually look for those kind of candles to give you an idea of what price we do. Now, even though we know right now on this hourly chart that the price is on the upper channel, and of course, from the discussion we had on Euro USD that Razvan just get done with, we know that the price has hit a resistance because, of course, remember he plotted the horizontal line, right? A horizontal fixed support, turn resistance right now. Let me see if I can just open another page to show you that on H4 of Euro USD. So if I go to Euro USD right now and I click on H4 and I turn around and show you a plain chart like so, let me see if I can just close all these ones to give us a better view of what the price is doing right now. So if I zoom in, of course, like so. So what Razvan did there was to show us that the price actually is back on a kind of like a support. So I think it drew something like this, right? Something like that. So you can see that the price, okay, is at a resistance right now, about breaking it anyway. We don't know whether it's going to still continue to go further, but if I can get some, say, for example, maybe I can just use this paint. I actually like using it. So you can see here that there was a previous downpour that got there and come back. And of course, that place, sorry, didn't want to actually use another. Let me delete this. So from here, we have, if I just borrow this. So we have it broken around this level. And of course, it's respected around here. That's same. I'm talking of that same level. So that all of you can see it. Oh, sorry. Again, I need to wipe off this line and say, for example, maybe I just paint another one. So you can also see this level as valid. Those are areas you have issues with the price. For example, when the price was about breaking this level that I'm touching right now, you see a lot of struggle because that place is a solid support. But eventually it got broken. And even again, when the price tried to return to, retest that resistance, which is now a resistance, I don't think there was a lot of struggle. So right now, you also expect a lot of struggle with the price. Okay, even though we can see right now that the price is breaking it, which is fine. All right, so we know now that the price is at a resistance on H4. So drilling down, we can now go back to the 1 hour charts and looking at channels. So right now, we see the price at the upper channel of H1. What you need to look out for now, before you place that sell, is, for example, a bearish engulfing. One, of course, you know those patterns of candlestick that you can check and use. Or for example, maybe kind of, and because you can see when the price touched the lower channel right here, I think that was yesterday. Can you see? Touching the lower channel and returning with kind of like almost a hammer, but not generally a hammer. Of course, because of that shadow up, which is too large for a hammer. Of course, you can see kind of like a bullish engulfing eventually, both a range and body. Eventually, the price actually wave to the upside. Now, some of us might say, oh, it is news, which is fine. But of course, you need to know that candles play a critical part in determining whether you should, continue with a trend or not. So right now, we see Euro USD on this channel at a resistance, right? So, and of course, it's at the upper channel, which is, of course, conforming with the horizontal line on H4 for a resistance. So you expect a price to drop, except if it breaks it, which is possible. So you can now begin to actually trade the buy. So let me see the comment section to see if anybody have, or if anybody will be interested in this channel indicator. Let me see. If you say, just if you know you'll be interested, say yes. Let me first of all see that. If you're interested in this channel indicator, I want to see, okay, a lot of people are saying yes. So all you need to do now in Elua is to ensure that your account is top up minimum 1 million. In fact, if you have done it right now, if you top up your account up to 1 million right now, just give me kind of like a wave that you have top up your account up to 1 million. Of course, I will just right now just private message you and relay this indicator straight away to you so they can use it for your purpose and of course to make more money. Now, this indicator actually cost me money, okay? And of course, but of course I can tell you that I've made more money with this indicator than I used to even buy it, right? So the requirement is no more. Somebody say requirement is too much, all right? So I'm asking that you just top up the requirement is not much. 1 million naira, that's less than $1,000 for you to put in your account. If your account is 800, add 200. If you have 400, add 600 to it. Make it more deposit in your account, of course, because this is a VIP indicator anyway. So I don't give it to people that have all this 200,000 in their account. I don't, because it's not for sale, right? So I'm not marketing anything. I'm just asking for you to top up your account so that you can use it for your purpose. Right, so let me go ahead and show you how to use it, even on maybe USD Japanese yen or anything you might want to be interested in. Let me see if I can just go straight to USD JPY, right? So what I have here on USD JPY right now is I think this updated is as it is on USD JPY. So let me go ahead and change it to channel to see what the price is doing right now. So what is the channel saying? Now, for example, anytime the price is at the middle of a channel, do not use it. And of course, this channel, even if you are on H1, it can also tell you what the price is doing on H4. That's the advantage. That's the one beautiful thing about this channel. So if you look at it right now, you see that if I zoom in, you can see that this one is talking about, let me see if I can just squeeze it to see what that one is saying. So this one is telling us it's on H1. That's the H1 channel. And of course, you can also see H4 right there. Okay, and of course, you can see weekly channel there. So what this indicator does is to actually give you an idea, a perspective of what the price is doing on all those channels on either H1, H4, W1, even 30 minutes. Because of course, you can also see on the same chart. So you don't need to switch to H4 before you use it, because you can see that the price is touching H4 channel even when you are on H1. Okay, so it gives you a credence as to, oh, I think we are also on the upper channel of H4, even though I'm viewing H1. Of course, you can use it for that purpose. So right now we see that, let me zoom it back to the normal view. So we can see that the price is touching the lower channel of Japanese yen, that's USD JPY. Now, what do you expect to do here? Buy, right? So you now zoom in, since it's on the lower channel, you now zoom in very well and check if you have a bullish engulfing candle. Now, some people might say the candle one right now, that's the current candle is 0. We call it candle 0. Let me see if I can just zoom in so they can see it. The current candle is candle 0, right? That's the red one. The green one is candle 1. Okay, so we can see that candle 1 in body actually engulfs candle 2. But I don't like treating candlesticks like this as full engulfing. I actually prefer a full engulfing to trade with. Okay, so let me see if I can just see one that I can give you an example. So this one, I'm going to just put an arrow or even a paint on it so that you can see it. So I actually prefer to have this kind of formation treated as a full bullish engulfing. Can you see that? So if I have had this kind of formation, if I have had this kind of formation on the current formation that you have right now, I would have just placed a buy on USD. But watch it, you see that this price is going to actually, because the percentage rating for a partial, we call this one partial engulfing. The percentage rating for a partial engulfing to push the price to the upside is maybe about 65–70%. But if it's a full bullish engulfing in range, okay, you can actually time down about 85%. So I like working with something that gives me 85% rating to work with. So I might actually not necessarily place a buy now. But of course, because we know that Japanese yen have issues, you all know that fundamentally the BOG actually devalue their currency and all that. So we might still treat this as a buy. So if you want to enter a buy right now, it's all free. Okay, you can say, okay, I'm treating partial engulfing as a signal for me to buy. So that's how you use channel to actually make money on the chart. And of course, we can even go further to look for, to look at other interesting peaks. For example, we go to, let's see if we can just go to AUD USD or USD card. Let's try USD card. So on the USD card front, we have something like this for the channel discussion. So when you eventually get this indicator, watch it. You're going to be having when you put it on your chart like this. If you have not used it in a hurry, that's in a while. It's going to take a while to populate because it's a software. Okay, and of course, it takes a while to actually. What it to do is to analyze this price objectively and give you an idea of what the price is doing in channel. So you can use that one, for your benefit. Of course, don't forget that on this USD card, you have a kind of like a support right now that is holding strong, right? So you can begin to also look at candles around it. Unfortunately, still a partial engulfing. Of course, if you want to use that one also, you can. It's all free. But like I said, I don't use the partial engulfings to trade. I prefer the full engulfings than to the partial engulfing. Okay, so for USD card, I'm still waiting for the channel to populate. Of course, you can look at how it goes. So while I'm waiting for that one to populate, let me see if I can also open to another, subject, another chart. Say, for example, maybe GBP, JPY. I actually like trading that one also. Let me look for it, JPY. So you can also use it on JPY to have an idea of what price is doing on that particular chart. Okay, so some of you might be asking or like to ask, which is better to draw trend line or channel of H4 or H1, okay, or D1. They are all good. Day traders use either of the three to trade. Okay, so you can use them interchangeably. You can switch at random. Okay, and of course use it for your purpose. So let's look at what this one is saying. So you can see right now that the price was volatile around the upper channel. Okay, which means that the most likely direction of this price is down. But of course, unfortunately, it might not be so because remember, Japanese yen is having issues. So fundamentally, Japanese yen is not a strong currency to actually look at. But if it had been that the price actually come back to the lower channel, yes, by all means, you can actually buy. So if you check tomorrow or next week or next month, and you see price coming back to this low, what do you expect to do? You expect a buy. That's how to know the area to buy or sell around channels. So let me see if I can just, because of time, let me see if I can allow, maybe 1 or 2 questions to come in on channels before I hand it over back to Razvan to continue and, of course, give us an idea of how to use a retest to actually make money on the chart. So if your account have 1 million, add 1 more million to it. Okay, so for those people that are telling me, oh, my account has 1 million, you need to add 1 more million to it to be able to get it. Okay? Because I need a million deposit in your account before I give you this, right? Okay, so let me enable channels to allow questions. Who is going first? Somebody is raising hand again. Izuchukwu asked question before, so let me allow Oyeshina to ask me question. Go ahead, Oyeshina.
Hello, sir.
Yes, hello.
I wanted to ask you, but it was about the trend line.
Okay.
I wanted to ask when does a trend change?
Well, it's a visual thing on the chart. Trend does change when there's a reversal on the chart. All right. Maybe you have a series of higher highs, like Razvan rightly pointed out. You have a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. But suddenly you see a change in perspective. The price is no longer making higher highs and higher lows. It's now changing. For example, if you look at this GPY84, you can treat this as maybe a trend is changing, right? Or maybe a trend is tired and trying to recoup. So, because of course, let's see. If I go back to the normal candlestick like so, let me mute you first to answer that question. Okay, so if I go to the normal chart like so and I zoom in, I can see it's obvious that in recent time we have a higher high, right? Higher highs and higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. I don't know if I can just use box to point that one out or arrow. So we have high here. And of course, we have high here. Okay. And of course, we have high like so. So the highs are getting higher, right? The highs are getting higher. Okay. And of course, even here, it's getting higher. Eventually, you get to this level. That's the highest so far. But instead of us to have another one, oh, sorry. So I think there's another one there. Let me just shift it. So you have another high here. Of course, you have, sorry. Of course, you have another high here. So right now, you can say categorically that the trend is changing because, of course, we are supposed to have a higher high. But you still cannot specifically say that the trend has changed because you need to confirm that the trend has changed. You need a lower low, right? So because in the recent time, what we know is that the price has been making a higher low also. Let me see if I can just copy this and bring it down to this level. Okay, so we have seen a higher low, right? Going up, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, of course, higher lows. So we have higher highs and higher lows. Before you can say, yes, the trend is changing, then you need a lower low. Even though now we have seen a lower high, we still cannot confirm that. So we need a lower low. So we need one low, right? That will be lower than the current one. Maybe it will come around here. Then we can say, yes, the trend is changing. Of course, maybe another one will come around there. Don't forget that, of course, as we are having that lower low, we also should be having lower high. Okay, something like that. Then you can say, oh, the trend is changing. So that's how you know whether a trend is changing, sir. Let me see if I can permit one more question on that angle. No more question because of time. So let me allow Razvan to come around now and discuss how to get some perspective around retesting, or a pattern, or looking at a pattern around trend line. Razvan.
Let me share my screen now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. Great. So hope the audio is still okay and you can all see my screen.
Yeah, I can. And of course, I'm sure that all of us should be able to see it now.
Great. So as Olusegun was saying, we have different ways of drawing a trend line. I have a short one. He uses array. I usually tend to use a short line because I can control it, and with 15 years of experience in the market, I know if I have this trend line around here, I know the next point will be somewhere around here. So as he said, it's all based with experience, it's personal preferences, but everyone can go with the array because it's easier to be used and seen all the way through the end of the chart. Now, getting back to my subject, which is very interesting, I have price patterns and patterns around the trend lines. And we have several scenarios that I'd like you to see. One of them was already touched by Segun earlier, which is candlestick patterns around a trend line. So basically, what are we looking for would be a test of the trend line, and after that, a continuation of the trend. Basically, what we intend to find is an end for this corrective movement, this correction, and start of a new impulse. Impulse is in the direction of the trend. So how do we do that? Usually we are using trend lines, we are using support lines, resistances, and so on and so forth. But what would actually give us a very good trigger from the market would be to have a candlestick pattern. In this case, we have a very nice engulfing here, bullish engulfing. And it's engulfing because we have a downside candle, we have a black candle, meaning the price is going lower, getting very close and touching the trend line. And right next to it, we have a big white candle, which is an increasing candle, a bullish candle, which engulfs the previous one. That's why it is also called engulfing. So you have a candle which engulfs, which eats basically the entire previous candle, which is a very strong signal, especially if it comes somewhere near a trend line, near a support and a trend line, and so on and so forth. So this would be a very good example. And I have here H4 euro dollar, which we discussed before. We already have the trend line. We had an engulfing here, but we didn't actually know that this would be a trend line up until new highs were actually set. We have this high, lower high, higher low. This is very important. This would be a first idea that we can actually have that the trend is going to change. But this idea remains an idea until a new higher high has been reached by the price. As Segun was saying, as Segun was saying, we need to have at least two higher highs and two lower lows for a downtrend to be considered change towards an uptrend. So right here we have higher low, higher high versus this high. Great. Now we have a retest on the trend line and we have a candlestick pattern touching it. Let's see what else we can have on Euro USD. This would be the new trend line here. Right now, though we only had two, we should be expecting for a third point of contact when another correction will start for this uptrend. And around this area or around this area here, meaning that the price could actually break a little bit lower to retest 107.83. And here we can have a candlestick pattern. Let me show you another interesting candlestick pattern on Euro JPY. So here we are on a daily chart. As I said, we have a fan of trend lines because the trend has been changing and we need to keep up with the new trends. So if we check the last trend line, we have 2 points of contacts right here, higher highs, higher lows, and look, this is a very beautiful hammer candle, which sits very nicely on a support level. So you have a support level, you have a trend line, and you have a hammer pattern right on this area right here around the trend line. Another pattern which gave us a very good idea of the direction of the new movement, which could actually be a new impulse, making it through and going above 160.24. Again, we are 50-50 right here because the market stopped and it can go back down. But if we trade based on the candlestick pattern, then we had an entry on the next opening of the candle, 153.24, and a stop loss right before the low of the candle, the support line around the trend line. So we had a very good stop loss hidden below all these levels, and we could have at least 50% of this movement here. So let me just change the colors for this one to be a bit more visible. So if we look, this is a Fibonacci retracement tool. We can actually measure the movement. In this case, the target would have been around 50%, which would have been a lot. And the risk to reward ratio would have been around 1 to 3, actually. The second would be 61.8, breaking above the 61.8 with the target 100%. Now coming back, another very nice candlestick pattern on the trend line. Continuing, we have a different scenario in the case of AUD JPY, because right here we have an uptrend. We will draw the trend line based on the first 2 points of contact, which are the most relevant in this case. Of course, this would have been one, but it's not relevant anymore once a new low was hit. So we need to adapt. And if we adapt, we will see that this new trend line was actually working very well. And something very interesting happened. We can see that the price is still making higher highs, but yet the first trend line is not working as a support anymore because the trend is not that fast growing. But what happened is that it turned into a resistance line. And if we continue this line, we will see that this resistance works here quite well. But before we get to the last point, let me show you something very interesting in this area. So right here, what happened was that it acted like a resistance. We also had a previous resistance level in that area. And in here, in this square, it actually drew a double top formation, a double top price pattern, which is very important. Usually double top price patterns tend to give us a bearish signal. And how does this turn into a trading signal? Well, you take the base of this double top, which is 96.86. If the price will break below that level, the new target will be, for example, if I have the height of this price pattern in this way, then I'll just project it lower and I have the take profit somewhere around this level, 94.93, 95.00 would be a good support level. It was hit before as resistance, as support. We had a nice sideways movement around this level. So this would be a target for this double top price pattern that you can see right here. Again, a break below that support with stop loss above the candle that broke the support level of the double top, sorry. Double bottom is on the reverse side. So double bottom shows you a reversal from a down movement, downtrend towards an uptrend, while a double top does the vice versa. So we had the break, we had the target, the price even went lower than that, but the support held very well. We can see the wicks going lower, but the main body of the candles remained around this 94, 98, 95.00. The price continued to move. And if we check, we have a new trend line in this area. As we can see, first 2 points of contact, hammer here. This is a new hammer that was drawn on this trend. Using this trend line, we have a very good entry level. Again, here, if we check, we have another support. So false breakout all the way to the trend line, hammer, a new good signal, hammer, and an engulfing because the new candle engulfed the body of the hammer, and we had a very nice upward movement. I have another one prepared for you, and this is also very interesting. We have the Japanese index here. So we have a trend line. Again, same technique, first point of contact, second point of contact, and it seemed that it worked very well. So here we have 2 interesting things. First of all, we have this hammer here, another very strong bullish signal. But even more, what we have here is if we set the resistance level, which was tested and retested as a resistance, as a support before this this current period, right now it seems that we are trading into an ascending triangle. This is another price pattern, not candlestick pattern, price pattern. Basically, it is a triangle made using the lows and the highs. We have these lows, we have these highs, which are on a resistance level. Breaking above this triangle will give us a target. This time would be the height of this triangle here, which coincides with the previous highs and resistance levels of 40,886. So this is another way of using price patterns. We have these are the main ones anyway. So you have candlestick patterns touching the trend line. We have different kind of candlesticks. So we have here an engulfing, we have here a hammer. You can have a morning star, and you can have others, but I usually tend to look over the engulfing, hammer, and morning stars. We can have retesting patterns, like in this case, where the main trend line was actually invalidated, but remained a very good resistance line. This usually happens quite frequently as a main trend line to become a resistance line. In this scenario, where if the trend changes, then that would have been a very good resistance line and so to move forward with. So we have a price pattern, a double top here, and we have this case where we had both a hammer. If we had missed this hammer, we still have a chance with this ascending triangle right here. I gave the target, basically trades like any other breakout, use the candle that broke above that level. Be careful for gaps, especially over the weekend on all instruments. They tend to be covered in a very short period of time. But if a candle breaks above this resistance level, then breaks out of this ascending triangle, and we can actually look for a target at around 40.88.6. So this would be the types of price patterns that we can actually use around trend lines. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Okay, so at this moment, like Razvan said, if you have a question, you just raise your hand. Of course, Razvan will unmute you. And of course, you can ask your question straight away so that I can answer it before we go to the last topic for today. Okay, so I see some hands raised. I think I already answered for, sorry, Oyeshin already asked a question, I think, a while back. So let's look at Kayode. Maybe you have something to tell us. Kayode.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
Yeah, thank you for teaching us this afternoon. My question is, you are talking about the price pattern. How can we enter our price on this trend line? Because we have been talking about the price pattern, the double top. How can we get the exact place to enter our entry?
Okay, so I'll give you an example with this double top. I said it earlier, but I was quite fast in my explanation, trying to leave enough time for Olusegun and also for some Q&A at the end. But let me get back to this example. So right here, let me just zoom in a bit more. We have this double top, right? This is very clean double top. We have highs at almost the same level, thus giving us a very good support. And in the same case, in the same time, giving us a very good resistance level here on the top. We are not interested in the resistance level, but it's good to have it there. What it is very interested, what should be very interesting for us to follow would be this support line. So in this case, looking at the double top, what we have is a candle that broke below, and this is a general rule for trading price patterns. Not only this one, but usually a triangle, double top, head and shoulders, inverted head and shoulders, double bottom, and so on and so forth. This is the usual way to handle them. So we have this, this candle which broke below the support level of that triangle. So in almost all cases, the entry will be on the opening of that next candle, so this little white candle, while having a stop above and a take profit below. In this case, the trend line was lower than that. I used here as a take profit, as you can see, the height of this double top. Actually, I should have moved it a bit higher, but it's around the support area. As I said, I use the support area and so on and so forth. The price actually moved lower than that. And you will tend to see that the price moves even further than the target that that price pattern gives you. But if you want to make sure that your take profit will be hit, you just need to use this height of the pattern projected from the support line and get your take profit level. In this case, if we look at the risk to reward ratio, it's around 1 to 1, 1 to 1.2. So this is not the perfect case scenario, because usually you will tend to look at 1 to 2 or 1 to 3. But if you consider it to adjust the trade as it goes, so maybe you will get a part of the trade out here, let's say 50%, and you will still want to check whether the price moves lower and retest this 94 level, which is a round level a little bit lower than the trend line, you can close another 50% there. So you can do a scale out strategy on your risk reward, and you'll get even more than 1 to 1. This is basically money management strategy, and there are several types of exiting trades based on what kind of volume you have, what kind of risk you take, if you are trading intraday, medium term or long term, and so on and so forth. So this is related to price pattern. Same thing applies here. You get a candle that breaks above the resistance line, you will project the height of this triangle from the breakout point and get the target value. I hope this answered your question.
Well, I hope it does. I hope he's satisfied now.
Yes.
Question. Thank you. So let me quickly, because of time, I think we have just a little bit of time to remember, because we are already above the hour. So within the next 5-10 minutes, we'll round up. So let me just quickly go ahead and share my screen and see if I can just discuss, retesting trend lines. Okay, so let me see if I can pick a chart from among the list here. I'm now on MT5. So let's see if I try with AUD/USD. Now you can try with any chart you want. Okay, any chart is good, right? The strategy is the same: trend line, retesting, and all that. So I'm going to a little bit adjust and give it a clean shape, switching from black background to white background, which is a little bit clearer for us to work with. And then, like I said before, the first thing you want to do when you switch to your chart, hourly chart default, remember when you open your chart, except for phone though, when you open your chart for the first time, the default time frame to switch to on your laptop is H1. So you might want to drill down to M30, M15, H4, D1, depends on your analysis pattern. But I tend to actually work more with H1, H4. All right, so you want to zoom out. It's very important to do that. Otherwise, you will not know where to draw the trend line. And of course, remember, your trend line must touch minimum 2 points. The more points, the better. So now that I'm looking at AUD H1, remember, like I said, I can switch to H4. It gives me a better idea of what to do. So from what I can see here, from what I can see on this AUD if I draw a trend line, now we are discussing retest, and of course, we are discussing, we have already discussed pattern around trend line. So let's look at retest. So if I click to draw my trend line, like so, okay, so like I said before, we can switch to the ray pattern. I actually like that because it gives me one view parameters, so I can just say ray right. Ray right is fine. And of course, I can also do ray left anyway, but let's do ray right already. So it gives me a perspective there. Then you now begin to adjust. Okay, so the first thing you want to see is that there was a steep one here, a steep trend line. And on this steep trend line, you begin to adjust your trend line. Remember, it must touch minimum 2 points. And the more points it can touch, the better. And of course, like we discussed before, the trend line does change, okay? It just begins to shift. So you can say categorically that at the beginning here, there was a retest. Let me just click on the start. No need. That's my rectangle there. So there was a touch here, which is good. And of course, it respected. But unfortunately, oh, sorry. I actually wanted to move it. Okay. Just to move it. Okay. So there was also a retest right there. But soon after, there was a breakout. Okay, so let me see if I can now move this. Sorry. I really wanted to move it. Okay, so we see a breakout here and a retest right here. So if you check this place where I have this last pattern, maybe permit me to just delete all these ones so that we can focus on the important box there. Let me just delete and also delete because we don't need this one anymore. Just use that one to show you point of contact. Let me see if I can also delete this. Delete. How many lines do I have there that refuse to go? Oh, Z. Now, I actually wanted to delete those boxes. So I can just shift it. Okay. Take it away from that place and then delete. All right. So so we see a retest there. Let me make it bigger so that you can all see it. All right. So if we zoom in now, we can see that the price actually retested that level. And then there was a breakout. Let's go back to the beginning. Let me zoom in a little bit. Sorry. Zoom in a little bit, or not a little bit. Then go back. In history, has been on the uptrend. So a breakout and then a retest. A breakout and then so let me zoom in more time so they can see it. So this is the candle that broke out of that trend line. And then the next candle, which is the red one, a retest. And remember, this retest is actually a spinning candle. Now, the job of a spinning candle is either way. It could be a reversal, remember, and of course, it could be a continuation. Now, in this case, this spinning candle is actually telling you that the price is going to continue. Why? Because the price eventually broke above the high. And of course, with a bullish engulfing candle, a proper retest there, then you can now begin to place your buy. And as you're placing that buy, you now remember that you can still do the lower part. Remember, the higher lows of your chart. So let me see if I can just zoom in. That's the end of that zooming. And of course, you can now begin to check with the lower part. So this is the lower trend line, right? So you can see a kind of like test there. Now, we are doing this because, of course, we are just coming to chart. So when you come to your chart, you trade what you see on the chart, not what you trade as you see it. Okay, not what you assume. You don't assume. As you come to your chart, you trade exactly what you are seeing because that's what the price is telling you. So right now we have a major trend line down, which could take months to come back to. Now, but you need to be trading in a hurry. So you can now zoom in more, a little bit more, and take the next trend line that you are seeing, which right now is a steep one with a higher angle. Okay, that's like almost like angle 70 degrees, maybe more than 60 degrees. Okay, which is a little bit scary, right? but of course, it's doable. Now, this is what you are seeing right now. And like Razvan said, I also love, duplicating my trend line to form kind of like a support resistance. So we could say, remember, the minimum number of points your trend line must touch is 2. The higher number, the better. So right now, the lower one, that's this one I'm touching right now, is touching 2 points, this and that. Let me see if I can use arrow to show you what I'm seeing, so that you can be placing your buy and sell as price is going up and be making your money. Okay, so you can use this as a retest of that trend line. Of course, this is the beginning of that trend line. Let me see if I can just copy this to the next part. Hold on. Yeah, copy this to this part. So we have 2 points on the lower one, and of course, remember, the price can still juggle. So what this one means is that, of course, we can see that right now the price is breaking bound and moving forward. But what it means is that if in the future, okay, which is what we expect, that the price will return and test either of these lines. So what it means is that if it touches it, and for example, let us assume that it touches it around this place, assumption, and then it forms a bullish engulfing, and then you place a buy. So like somebody asked, how can we now know where to buy and what to do with the buy? Okay, where is the stop going to be? So the stop loss is going to be below your lower channel. Remember, you're following the channel right now. And of course, if you ask, how do you duplicate this line? It's simple. Once you double click on the line, you can just press Control key on your keyboard and just drag down. Of course, you have a duplicate. It's pretty easy. Or you can draw another one. Of course, remember, you can still have the upper one, which is okay. You can have that. Now, what it means is that the middle one is your main line. Okay, so if price touches it, what this one means is that the price can touch the upper one, go back, touch the middle one, go back, or touch the lower one, go back. But you expect that the price will, if eventually touch the middle one, your stop loss must be below the lower trend line. That's where your stop should be. Because of course, remember, if it breaks it, if you break the lower one, that's the end of that move. Because that's a major, as we can see now, this one right there, this one I'm moving right now, or that I'm touching is the major one, is the lowest one, and this is the highest one. So if, as we are uptrend now on this AUD/USD, if the price come back and touch the lower one, you can buy. And of course, remember, you can drill it down to H1, okay, which is, of course, you can see it now on H1. So on the H1 time frame, which is where a lot of traders love to be. That's where I love to be also. And of course, even on this H1, you can see that the thing is clearer on this H1. So if you had bought, for example, if you had bought from here, let's see, you bought from here, for example, you bought from around this level, okay? Let me even bring it to the back. You bought from around here. This is where you bought. Now, imagine that you bought here and you put your stop loss below this box. You know that you are going to lose money, right? So what your stop loss should be, remember, is going to be below this lower line. That's where your stop loss. So your stop loss should be around this arrow, so that the price doesn't hit it, okay? That gives you an idea of how to use Trendline. Trendline is actually a very powerful tool, okay, for technical analysts, because it gives us a perspective as hit your stop loss. You should accept that one as a very good loss, because of course you have done all righteousness, you have filled all rules concerning technical analysis using Trendline. So in the future now, we expect the price, like Razvan said, to actually test this trend line in the future. If you test the middle one, so be it, because that's your main line, remember. But of course, if you touch the upper one, it's still good. If you touch the lower one, it's still all good. So, but you expect it to touch this place in the future. And right now, if we zoom in also on H1 and perhaps possibly H4, you could see that this price is actually breaking bound and is currently, breaking above this resistance, right? Resistance zone. Now, the resistance zone is not a price. Resistance is a zone, right? So you can also do the duplicate. So the price is still touching the upper part of this zone that I've just painted now. And of course, you can zoom in and begin to check, because when the price hits the resistance, you expect that the price will actually return and give something. So on the H1, let's begin to look for patterns that can actually support the sell, because of course, you remember that we expect the price to go back and touch either of the lower trend lines. Then you can now begin to actually buy. So that's what we call retest. Retesting the trend line is very important. It gives you an idea of what to do when the price retests. And of course, so right now, if you are buying now, you remember you are wrong, right? You are wrong in the sense that the price has, moved higher. So you expect a clear, if it's going to be a clear breakout. If eventually this price is going to go up, which is what it's doing now, which is fine. But if it is going to go up, let it quickly, first of all, break this resistance where it is and retest it. Remember, retest is very, very important. Okay, you need to see a retest of that resistance zone, top support, then you can now begin to buy. So that's how to use it. And the clear example actually came yesterday while I was teaching a class in Lagos. And that was on Euro USD. Fantastic, retest of a trend line. Actually gave us a lot of money. So let's see what we did there. Oh, sorry about that. Let me see if I just move this so that I can see what I want to do. I actually wanted to change the template. Permit me to just change it to clean. Okay, with a white background like so. And then of course I'm going to just draw the, but before I draw the line, remember you need to zoom out. It's very important to do this. So bringing it close, even if you put it on H4 or H1, you still get the same result. You see there was a kind of like a move down, right? A move down from this top. So if you're looking at the top now, there are two main lines. This is the major one. Now this is the critical one. Anything that will make this price move to this higher trend line, you should expect a downpour, right? Good. Now, but let's shift our focus away from that one because it's coming in the future and focus on the one that is very important, which is the one that is shifting right now. Remember, like Razvan was plotting for us, that the trend line does shift, okay? So we have this on H4. That's a perfect touch, okay, on H4. We already have more than 3 points, 4 points. Remember, this, like I always say, trend line, like Razvan said also, will form a channel for you, right? It could do that, right? And the channel will be your support resistance. The middle one is going to be your main line. So let's see how the test happened to this one and how we actually use it to make money, which is what you have lost, opportunity on already. So in the future, if it happens, you know what to do already, because of course you can plot this on anything. And of course, I also saw somebody that asked a question around phone, that how do we draw it on phone? It's very important, even though it's a little bit trickish, but it's also important that you can, it's very important that you know that you can actually use it on phone. So how did this retest actually give us money yesterday? So if we zoom in closer on H1, let's see, and then we can now zoom in. Permit me to just see, look out for zooming, right. So you can see now. So first of all, there was a clear breakout. Let me see if I just zoom out one time. Adjust. Where's that adjuster? Give me a second. Maybe I can just hide this one somewhere. I wish to. So this is the adjuster. Sorry. Okay, so let me zoom in. So you can see that the price already broke out. Now at the beginning, let's see arrow. So from what we know about this trend line, this descending trend line, we know that this price has been going down. We know it's clear, right? Give me a second, copy. Clear that the price has been going down over time. We know that already. So perfect touch to the middle and perfect touch almost to the middle. And right now, perfect touch to the middle. So we see after this touch, the price actually came back and we tested this lower one. Okay, that's the lower trend line there that gives you a channel. So that's a retest. So this one is kind of like a retest, okay, that happened yesterday. So normally a buy limit here would have been ideal, since you know that the price has touched this one, and that's a breakout of the lower channel. So a buy limit here would have been ideal, or even instant execution in the case you now see kind of like a bullish engulfing. Of course, if you zoom in clearly now, you see what I just described for you, which was a very good example yesterday that could have given you money. So this candle that you see here, permit me to just paint it. I don't know if I can just do that, or just give you an arrow to point that particular candle for you. This candle yesterday was a very perfect example of a signal for a buy. Of course, it's a bullish engulfing candle with long tail, which gives us an opportunity for a perfect entry. So a buy around here would have been ideal. That's around this level. You just use that horizontal line. So if you have bought there, by now you would have been how many pips in profit? Let's find out. That's a very good one. A retest that gave us an option to buy. Okay, so the price has actually moved how many pips? That's over 61 pips already in profit. So with a standard volume on your 2 million deposits, that would be more than like $600 in profit. So I mean, $600 between yesterday and now is a lot of money. So if you have like 2 million in your account, if you have like a million in your account, you can do one standard volume. 2 million, you can do 2 standard volume, which would have given you a lot of money. Now, we expect this to continue like this until, like somebody asked, when the trend changes. Okay, then of course we can now begin to do a sell. So for now, USD trend is up. So I think this is clear enough for the test. Questions so that we can close. Let's see questions. Somebody says, that's Miriam Alao. I'm reading your comment now. He says, someone has been trying to join Rally Trade for about a week now. Or can he contact? Well, who is your manager? Okay, so if you have a manager, you already have a manager, you can talk to your manager that somebody has been trying to join Rally Trade, and of course the person can join. Or you go to our website directly, tell the person to go to our website directly, click and register, and of course it becomes a client. If somebody will contact him, or you can just handle him over to your manager. That's your account manager, and of course the person will do a follow-up, and of course the person becomes a client. Okay, somebody asked if it is available on YouTube. Yes, it is, like Razvan said. Somebody mentioned my name there. If you have a topic that you would like to touch, okay, you can just figure out. So let's go to the last comment there. How do I get the trend channel, sir? Like I said, that's the last question that I saw there from Iniodua. Like I said, it's very simple. Upgrade your accounts to a higher volume, then you get it for free through your account manager. All questions must be routed through your account manager to me. Okay, so Ayun Felix say bravo. Thank you very much, Ayun Felix. I hope I'll be seeing you pretty soon. Yeah, right. So somebody's asking, can we buy Euro USD right now? How do you mean can you buy right now? We already said that the price has broken out. Now, that question is a very funny one, but like I always say, I always like to say it for who cares to listen, that when it comes to trading, you must behave like a sniper. Okay, you cannot enter too early. Of course, you cannot enter too late. Okay, if you enter too late, you'll be on your own because, of course, the risk is higher now. If you are placing a buy right now, imagine where your stop loss will be. Because if you are placing a buy somewhere around, let me just use this one to show you. If you are placing a buy around this zone yesterday, your stop loss would have been, let me just see if I can just do this. Your stop loss could have been somewhere around here, right? This could have been your stop loss. This could have been your stop loss area. This could have been your stop loss area yesterday. Now imagine that you're now buying right now at the moment. Okay, so which means that your stop loss is still going to be looking or pointing to this zone, which is your support zone. And of course, your risk is higher. So it's not as if you can't, if you know your risk is, if you know you can take the risk, you can still enter a buy. Remember, the price is still uptrend. Of course, but if I were you, I would rather wait, like Razvan said, a retest, for the price to retest this trend line. You can see it, it's obvious. Okay, you trade what you see. What's the price saying right now? You trade it. Don't worry about perfection. Okay, Razvan is a professional that knows what you want to do. Draw yours the way you, of course, remember, practice make perfect, right? So you need to be practicing and practicing before you become a pro in this. So you can draw what you see. And of course, you can this will be the upper one right now. Of course, this will be the main line. And this could just be the lower one, right? So, and of course, that's the upper, that's the one that is moving higher now. So before you, if you ask me when should you buy, I'll say when the price come back and retest this zone. Patience is key on the chart. Thank you very much. So let me hand you over to Razvan now for conclusion. Razvan.
Thank you very much, guys, for a very nice event. Olusegun, I also I wrote on the chat if they have other subjects that we would like to touch together and have other events, we can actually make a plan and schedule some more events for the future. Yeah, I see people having questions outside of scope and should be interesting to touch them in different events. I thank you all for attending, and I hope you enjoyed it and you found it interesting and with good information. We are waiting also for your feedback, and if you have one more question for me, you can just write it down or raise your hand as a farewell question.
So Razvan is asking you guys if you have a farewell question for him. Just raise up your hand. I'm going to allow him to pick you. So he will mute you. And of course, you can just ask your question directly to Razvan.
Okay, so we have the first one, Adetunji Sahid.
Just unmute him. So Adetunji Said, ask your question. Well, we really can't hear you.
Yeah, sorry, Adetunji.
Okay, so Razvan, pick somebody else.
Let's take Adebayo Adesina.
Okay, Adebayo Adesina, all right? So Adebayo Adesina, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Yes.
Yes, that my question is this: that triangle, that ascending triangle, if it is symmetric triangle, how do we determine the entry point?
Okay, so Razvan, share your screen and give him that.
Yes, one second, please.
Yes. If it is a symmetric triangle, instead of being a descending triangle, how do we determine the entry point?
Okay, so can you mute yourself, please?
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so as I said, it is the same principle as for the double top here. We are looking for a candle that breaks below or above. So in this case of the ascending triangle, we will be looking for a candle which will break above the resistance line, trade on the next opening candle, and have a level of support, basically a stop loss inside or below these lows here in this case. Let me just make it a bit, something like this should be easier. So we'll be waiting for a candle to break. On the opening of the new candle, we'll set a stop loss. I would do it below this low here. The safest place would be below 37.93.7. So here under this low. And as a target, we have this. In the case of a symmetrical triangle, like we have it here, but bear in mind, this is a daily chart. It will still apply on lower time frames. Again, wait for a candle to break above or below, because the symmetrical triangle tends to be 50-50, so it can go on the upside or the downside. Until the break, we don't know for sure. So wait for a candle to break, have the stop loss below the candle that broke the level of resistance in this case, or support if it goes down, or use the following low, like in this case 124.34, based on the fact that in this case you will have a target a bit further away. This would be the full target 139, mid target would be 133. So again, this is money management combined with the entry levels based on the breakouts using candlesticks. Great.
Okay, so thank you very much, Razvan. Thank you very much.
Thank you too, guys.
So Razvan, it's time for you to put a stop to this.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening, and hope we'll be together at the next events.
All right, bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.